When you think of fashion legends, names like Coco Chanel and Christian Dior probably come to mind. But there's one designer who changed fashion forever, and yet most people don't even know her name. Meet Madeleine Vionnet, the architect of couture. She revolutionized women's clothing with bias-cut gowns, free-flowing drapery, and an eye for geometric precision. The fashion world owes so much to her, but she never sought the limelight. No flashy branding, no logos, just pure, breathtaking craftsmanship. Today we are diving into her story, because by the end of this video, you'll be wondering why she's not as famous as Chanel. Before we dive in, I just want to apologize for my French pronunciation in advance. I hope you enjoy the video. Madeleine Vionnet was born in 1876 in Chiers-au-Bois, a small village in France. From a young age, her life was marked by hardship and resilience. At just 12 years old, she began working as a lace maker's apprentice, learning the delicate skills of hand sewing and textiles. By 18, she had already experienced deep personal loss. Her short-lived marriage ended in heartbreak, and she suffered the devastating loss of a child. This was a turning point, though. She decided to leave Paris behind, seeking a fresh start in London. At just 21 years old, she moved to London, where she first found work as a hospital seamstress. But it wasn't long before she stepped into the world of high fashion. In 1897, she secured a role as a dress fitter for the couture Kate Riley, one of the top names in British fashion at the time. This was her first taste of couture, and she was determined to make it her future. In 1900, Vionnet returned to Paris, ready to hone her craft at the prestigious fashion houses of Callot-Soeurs and Jacques Doucet. At Callot-Soeurs, she worked as a toile maker under Marie Callot-Gerber, one of the most respected designers at the time. It was here that she began first experimenting with draping fabrics directly onto models, treating fabric as a sculptor would marble. Later, when reflecting on her training, she famously said, "Without the example of Callot-Soeurs, I would have continued to make Fords. It was because of them I have been able to make Rolls-Royces." Her time at Jacques Doucet's atelier was equally transformative. Doucet recognized her talent and encouraged her to design for a younger, modern clientele looking for freedom from corsetry. This was a defining moment. Vionnet realized that clothing didn't need stiff structure to be elegant. She was ready to break the rules. So in 1912 she took the leap and opened her own couture house, Vionnet, on Rue de Rivoli. Now let's talk about Vionnet's biggest innovation, the bias cut. Up until then, most fabrics were cut straight along the grain, making garments stiff and structured. But Vionnet had a bold new idea. She started cutting fabric diagonally, allowing it to stretch, flow, and move naturally with the body. This was revolutionary. With this technique, her gowns clung to the body like liquid silk, creating a Grecian draped effect that was both sensual and sophisticated. She worked primarily with lightweight silks like chiffon and crepe, letting them fall naturally, sculpting them directly onto the body. Some of her most famous designs? The halter neck top, the cowl neck dress, and the handkerchief hem gown. Her work caught the attention of Hollywood's biggest stars. Katharine Hepburn, Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich, and Joan Crawford all wore her designs. She also became a favourite of European aristocracy, including the Baroness Robert de Rothschild, Madame Citron, and Lady Foley. Vionnet wasn't just a designer, she was a visionary. She was one of the first designers to advocate for copyright laws in fashion, fighting against knockoffs of her work. She also treated her employees exceptionally well, providing them with paid holidays, maternity leave, an on-site doctor, dentist, and even a canteen. This was unheard of at the time. But then World War II changed everything. In 1940, she closed her couture house, choosing retirement over compromise. Unlike Chanel, she never staged a comeback. She faded into obscurity, living a quiet life until her passing in 1975 at the ripe old age of 98. Even though her name isn't as well known today, her influence is everywhere. From Issey Miyake to John Galliano, designers still draw from her techniques. Every time you see a flowing body-hugging gown on the red carpet, that's Vionet's legacy in action. In 1925, British Vogue called her perhaps the greatest geometrician among all French couturiers, and honestly, they were right. So, what do you think? Does Madeleine Vionnet deserve more recognition? Is this your first introduction to her? Let me know in the comments and who else I should cover as well. And if you love this deep dive, don't forget like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. Now, stay curious and inspired. This has been the Fashion Memoir.